Morning, everybody. How are we all doing? I think I know exactly how you're doing. Sam here, United People's TV, wishing I could kickstart another week after Man United have made it 3 wins from 3. No, we're just here to reopen the therapy room again. I said it in the comments before I went live there. All I want to do is just burn down this therapy room. My God. The amount of times that United take 1 step forward and 2 steps back, it's basically everything over the last 10 years or so. And this weekend was no different, man. It was just that defeat to Crystal Palace was. They had absolutely, they offered what? They had like a few set pieces. That's all they needed. Crystal Palace came to Old Trafford with a game plan, a very basic, very easy game plan, and it worked. I'm going to run through lots of talking points around that game. I covered it in my match reaction. I covered it in a bit more detail in my 5 things we learned from that game. And I want to hear from you as a community here this morning. But also there's lots of talking points around the game. You know, this is the good thing here. You want a bit of positive news? I've got one piece, and I'll probably get it out nice and early because there's probably not going to be that much more of it. When it comes to fixture pileups, I think there's more of a negative reaction to them when you're winning. You're like, oh my God, we've only got X amount of days rest. But when you lose a game, to have a game like Galatasaray in the Champions League, a couple of days later, tomorrow night, we're back. The Champions League is back at Old Trafford. And that is a good thing because we need to bury that game against Crystal Palace, just in the same way we needed to bury the games against Brighton and Bayern Munich and Arsenal. And then we did, and now we didn't. And now we're back into it. And it's the same old tosh. Anyway, I'm normally a very positive person. I sat there this morning. I was just staring at the screen going, wow, how in the world are we going to have a conversation this morning? But look, good morning to everybody. Let's see who's down here from the member gang. And let's have a conversation. LBBB, good morning to you. Carl, Richard, we've got Eden, we've got Al Williams, Sky Benjamin, Josh, how you doing, man? Lone Wolf, Hassan, another Josh, Abhinav, we've got Matt, Stan, Natasha, Nev. Good morning to all of you. C. Billington, who's on Facebook. Let's have a quick look. We've got Jack Stewart joining as well. How you doing, Jack? Wayne, you're on Facebook. Carl Perkins, good morning to you. We've got Kweku. We've got Priya. We've got Kamara. We've got Stephen Bennett. Good morning to everyone. All right. No doubt there's going to be hardly anybody tuning in compared to what happens when United win because we're a United community. I don't thrive in negative situations. United People's TV does not thrive in negative situations. There are other channels that have fans that aren't United fans and love to watch United fans have meltdowns. Ain't nobody going to be watching me to do that. So it'll be a little bit boring in that sense. But there's quite a lot we need to speak about overall from the footballing weekend. And for me, it's I think there's one really important overall place that we have to start. Of course, it's that crap. Awful system. Football is just, and honestly, this isn't old. When someone gets older, the kind of a default thing for them to do is go, back in my day, X was better. But football, VAR, state ownership, just everything about the Premier League is just, there's so many parts of it. I go, what is that? What is that? And VAR is just, it's such an insane system. And this probably was the most insane error that there has been so far. Of course, you know what happened. But Diaz is so far onside there that it doesn't, you look at it and you go, how on earth did that get given or not get given? And then you find out that the reason it didn't get given is because Darren England, who's upstairs in the VAR room or wherever the bloody VAR room is, thought that the goal was given on the pitch and therefore didn't challenge it. Tom, you're saying VAR is not the problem, it's the officials behind it. No, I would say VAR is still part of the problem massively. If you look at the fully automated system that existed at the World Cup, fully automated, there's certain things that computers can do with far more accuracy and reliability. All this does is move the referee upstairs. It doesn't add that sort of scientific, and that's what football is now, a game of science, a game of millimeters. The Garnacho won against Arsenal. Millimeters. Rashford's ball going off against Brighton. Millimeters. And we're talking, again, you talk about sporting integrity. Darren England, the same person who was on VAR there, 48 hours before, was out freelancing in the United Arab Emirates. Players, you've seen what's happened with Saudi Arabia this summer. So many players just finally going, right, sod it, man. I'm gonna bite on that, and I'm gonna take the millions and go over to Saudi Arabia. Ronaldo started the exodus, and so many people have followed. So it should come as absolutely no surprise that the referees are all sitting there going, yeah, I'll go on in. I fancy a slice of that pie. It's crap. And you know what, right? As much as I feel this is about the most Liverpool thing in the world to do, release a statement on it, say that I can't even be bothered to run through what their statement is. This is Liverpool exerting pressure on referees. It's media pressure, it's public pressure, and now this will positively impact the decisions that Liverpool get from now on. And I don't want my club to be sitting there releasing statements, but I would like to see United putting pressure on it. The PGMOL and the Premier League have just created this place where you're not even allowed to speak negatively about a referee in a press conference. But Liverpool can go out and release a full-blown statement. It's like, and you just sent a super chat there, man, as well. You have no idea whether you can celebrate a goal in football anymore. Bow from the podcast went to the Arsenal game a few weeks ago. Garnacho's goal, bruised, bloodied knees, ended up 3 rows in front of him. It's perfect when that happens in an away game, and you get a late winner. It's incredible. It's such an amazing feeling. You start hugging random people, and it's just something that's kind of unexplainable. It's the beauty of going to see a football game. You can't do that anymore because part of you is going, oh, is there like a foul like four passes before in the build-up somewhere that might rule it out? Maps, you're saying VAR isn't the issue. It's people running it. No, it's both. There was a fully automated system that existed and looked brilliant. I think it was at the World Cup. And now we're still sitting here. We just moved the human error from the pitch upstairs. Make it automated. If you're going to go down this path of football, make it automated. Done. End of conversation. Let's move on. And look at this, right? Look at this. Again, it's a bit of a moany. Is it a moany show this morning? Yeah, you're damn right. It's going to be a moany show this morning. We can all moan together. Kev, not Kev. How you doing? Can you reach out to players to shake them up? I'm not sure I'm going to have any sort of positive impact. No, I'm sure I wouldn't. Jibak, you're saying the Premier League implementation of VAR is an employment scheme for underperforming. That's an interesting conspiracy theory there from Jibak. I don't know whether it's that, but look, here you go. You want this? Here's 3 pages of apologies that have come out from VAR and the PGMOL. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. There. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 statements that they've released. What a system. Fantastic system. Keep going. You're doing a great job. It's not. Football is getting worse. And I said it's not just somebody moaning about, it was better back in my day. Just the new rules and the meticulous nature of these rules and the enforcement and the implementation of these rules. They're all crap and they're all wrong. Look, it was not the reason we lost against Crystal Palace there tonight, but according to these new rules, that was a stonewall penalty for United against Crystal Palace. I think the ball was literally going to Garnacho before it hit someone's arm. The trajectory of the ball then changed and it went somewhere else. Therefore, the arm impacted and influenced the game. But no, nothing happened. Honestly, and this with everything that's going on, or has been going on for a good while, with Barcelona now getting done with their bribery, referee bribery accusations and charges. Like, it must be so. And again, like, you've now got Newcastle, who are state owned. You've got City, who of course have been owned by state for a long time. Oh, there's separation. No, there's not. They are state owned. And now you've got football referees going over to these countries freelancing. Oh yeah. I mean, what could possibly be a conflict of interest here? Here, just it's coming. It is coming. There will be I will be staggered if there's not some sort of bribery scandal in the Premier League in the next, I don't know, let's call it 2 years. I would be staggered because somebody is going to be willing to take that money. Now that there is so much more access, you don't have to access the referee or the assistants on the pitch. You have to go to some bloke who's sitting upstairs in a room that nobody can see. Let me see what you're saying down there. As I said, I know I'm moaning this morning, but yeah, it's I think I'm a bit tired, Robbie. I'm tired of the cycles and the circles. And then look, I'm just going to pull you up because it's an example of it. But there's now going to be so much energy to, I'm sorry, just silly. Are they even United fans? I don't get it. There's going to be so many people that feel the energy that goes, oh, you know what's going to fix all the problems at United right now? I've got a really good idea. Should we just sack a manager and then bring in another one and just pretend that manager is going to come into Manchester United and be like, oh, going to fix all the problems. Oh, there you go. Brilliant. No, it's just not true. However, do I think Ten Hag is exempt from criticism? Absolutely not. And I will be speaking about that next. But just to add bad news onto bad news onto bad news, this has really, really annoyed me. He shouldn't be smiling. Got to turn him upside down. This. Martinez, it's been confirmed, is having further surgery on that broken metatarsal. Further surgery. So that means that Martinez now is going to be missing for another 2 or 3 months. That is like mind-boggling and staggering levels of mismanagement, of player welfare, and of rehabilitation. Like staggering. It's almost negligent that Martinez is having this surgery. I think it's been obvious from the first day of the season that Martinez hasn't quite been there. And we've all noticed it, right? If you're gonna say one, if you were to sort of summarize Martinez's game, right, you'd put aggression pretty much at the top of it. Because he is a man of small stature. So therefore, you have to be aggressive. You have to be big. Make yourself as broad as possible, or people will just push you over. But nobody could do that because of how Martinez played. So the fact that Manchester United have let him come back in now, look, I'm sure there's part of this might be Martinez saying, yeah, man, I'm ready. But that's why you have medical doctors. That's why you have teams. Matt, you're saying, Sam, these issues can happen after surgery. I would not say it's been mismanaged at all. Matt, you're completely and utterly wrong. He went off against Arsenal as a precaution. Straight after Arsenal, what did he do? He went away to international duty with Argentina. Didn't play with Argentina because the Argentinian manager said, well, he's not completely fit, so we don't need to risk him. He should never have been allowed to go on international duty. Manchester United said, sorry, Martinez, you're not fit. We'd rather you stay here and we can help you with the rehabilitation. Instead, he went off to international duty. Came back, and because we had injuries to Varane, hey, look, if Varane hadn't been injured and blah, 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 Martinez might not have been playing with painkillers, and he might not have got the, I don't know, it might not have happened. Yeah, but he was, and he did. And now he's going to be missing for the next few months. And Martinez, you know how frustrated I am that we are not, how frustrated I am that we are not playing out from the back with the ball yet. He's basically the most important defender, and we don't have him. Luke Shaw as well. Both of those, Martinez and Shaw last season, were such an important partnership for us. Now he's gone for another couple of months. And look, as I said, Dave, you're saying it's a very common injury to reoccur. Yeah, sure. But if you're telling me that you're happy and you're content with how Manchester United have handled this from a player welfare, from an injury rehabilitation perspective, then yeah, I will disagree. And as I said, I think part of that might be just Martinez's mentality. He probably wasn't letting on about how much things were hurting or how not quite there yet because he wanted to play. It's kind of a little bit like Jonathan, you just put it down there. It's kind of like Rooney. I always remember it. Rooney between, do you remember what was it? Bayern Munich away. It was the year that Robin scored that late. Yeah. Is that 2010? I think it was 2010. Bayern Munich away. Rooney got that injury like right the last couple of minutes, I think it was, against Bayern Munich. And then he played like a week or two later when he had no chance. And he definitely wasn't fit. But yeah, Martinez gone for the next few months. Fantastic news. Absolutely brilliant. If you're looking at a team that's just missing consistency, just missing from to go from that against Crystal Palace in midweek, right, to this at the weekend. Let's talk about it, right? We're 15 minutes in. There's so many things I need to speak about from this game that you need to speak about as well. And then we can move on to speak about the game that's coming up tomorrow. But to go from what we saw against Crystal Palace in midweek in the League Cup to Crystal Palace there, it's just it's properly unforgivable. And people can go, oh, this is why I don't get so excited about winning in the League Cup, blah, blah, blah. It was the same team we were playing. They made like what? How many changes did Crystal Palace make? I didn't actually look. Eze came in and obviously made a big difference. They may have made a few changes, but Roy Hodgson said it in the build-up to the game. He goes, honestly, there's not much more that we can do different, really. United, I'll be honest, I think Ten Hag's team selection hurt him. I'm not surprised that he made those changes. Oh dear, one sec. I've accidentally just turned the monitor on now. I can't see anything I'm doing. These stupid monitors, man. 1 second there. Didn't mean to press that. Go off. Come back on here. Thank you. Apparently 4 changes there from Crystal Palace. But whoa, you know what I did for the first time today? It's actually the first time this season I've looked at it. I looked at the table. What's your take on, well, I think I know what your take is. But look, it's 7 games into the season now. We are 9 points behind City. We are 8 points behind Spurs and Arsenal. And we are 7 points behind Liverpool. The season's not over, all right? However, given that my expectation of this season was fairly to improve on last season, right? Last season was we won the League Cup and we finished 3rd. So I wanted us to finish 2nd, and my prediction was for us to finish 2nd. Boy, I don't know where we're going to be finishing now this season. And I think the thing that frustrated me the most about this game here is this, right? Is I've always been looking towards, or looking ahead and going, what can be different? What can change between now and then that can improve us? And I looked at Amrabat, and I was desperate for him to come in because he's just a midfielder that this midfield has just been missing all season long. And against Crystal Palace in the League Cup, the players just seemed to know what they were doing significantly more. Crystal Palace weren't that much more aggressive against us at the weekend, like at all. We still had the run of the game. But we were just under. I tell you, look, Amrabat, he was making silly fouls. Like Ayew kept getting his body in the way of the ball, and it was a foul that led to the set piece, which led to the goal itself. And some people are trying to blame Onana for that. Absolute world of a hit from, was it Anderson? And it deflected Delo on the way in. Okie dokie. Yeah, man. You can blame the goalkeeper for that if you want. But for Erik ten Hag, look, go over here. You can say there's no excuses. There's one thing that Manchester United have not done for a long time, man, is score enough goals. Right, there's a couple. Let me see if there's a couple of super chats here. I think there are. Jordan, you're saying we need to use the players that have drive and desire. I don't think that, personally, I don't think that game against Crystal, I don't think we lost that game against Crystal Palace because we didn't run hard enough or we weren't intense enough. It's just simply put, we weren't good enough. The quality was just not there. Like Rasmus Højlund, I felt really quite sorry for him, right? I felt really quite sorry for him because I think Rasmus Højlund made all the right runs, made all the right decisions, dropped back when he needed to, held up the ball, fed to someone else. He was always making runs, but nobody was finding him, really. He hardly had any service. There was one chance that Bruno made, when we had two chances in like 30 seconds. Bruno with a shot from the edge of the box. We get a corner. Ball goes out to Bruno. Little cross to Højlund. It was a good save, good double save by Sam Johnson, of course. But Man United are not scoring enough goals. How do you think that changes? All right. Solutions in the comments. Fire it in there. How many goals we scored this season? Is it 6 from 7? Did they get that wrong? Right, so we scored 7 goals in 7 games. I think the Athletic actually got that wrong. So it's 7 goals in 7 games. And it's just not good enough. Tom there with the pretty, I think it's quite a fair comment there. This is, look, Ten Hag's saying that we got into good positions, we just didn't have that impact. The quality was just not good enough. And that, for me, that is just the fundamental issue that existed on Saturday. You can talk about injuries, but I would say that 11 that played against Palace, more than enough to dispatch Palace. All right, there are issues. Of course, there's issues there, but we're playing Palace at home. All right, more than enough in that team to beat Palace. So I'm not using excuses of injuries. The quality for me was not there. We had enough. I think we had like 19 chances created, but that was a bit of like probably 5 or 6 of them were blocked. How many of those were actually gilt-edged opportunities? And how many opportunities were lost because of that lack of quality? In threatening positions, turning those into opportunities is what we lacked massively. And that's where I think the spotlight falls on Marcus Rashford. Tom there with a comment there that I think is an interesting one. It's like we have the same thing that Liverpool had last season, players exhausted. Like, dude, and again, context is everything and circumstances. You have to understand that playing 63 games last season, that having a World Cup mid-season, that having a thin squad and not rotating enough, and that's sort of a kind of a self-imposed problem. All these things combined, these players, and that it's not just United, by the way. Arsenal have got some big injuries. Like, I think that everybody in the Premier League is suffering from more muscular injuries because these players are getting pushed and pushed and pushed past the point, and the bodies are saying no. But Marcus Rashford is somebody who, of course, I have forgiven plenty for this season because of what he did last season. It's called credit. In the same way that I'm giving Ten Hag plenty of time because he's built credit. It's what happens. Don't be surprised about it. It's what happens. But Marcus Rashford, I think it happened I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 times against Crystal Palace. Ball fired over to him, Marcus Rashford squaring up at his defender and just kind of runs into the corridor, doesn't he? Head down, doesn't lead to an opportunity. And Erik ten Hag spoke about him here. He said, look, he's got to be more determined, willingness to try, score a goal. And this comment here wasn't directed at Rashford, but for me, it really feels like it should be. It's about decision-making, the qualities and the skill set the players we have. There were many occasions we were in the position to put the ball where we want to be, and we have to make the correct decision. We have more qualities than we show today. And that, for me, is what sums up that game. And I think that's what's most frustrating about it. Is that team that played Paris on paper, man. On paper, the team that played a few days before. The quality was just not there. Now, what causes that? Is that simply because you've switched a couple of players out of the team that beat Palace in the League Cup in midweek, and all of a sudden it all goes to pot? No, I don't think it is. Jake from the podcast, big up to you, Jake, mentions this quite a lot, and I think it's a really fair pattern that he spotted. He goes, when it comes to watching United, the first 20 minutes of the game are so telling, right? They are so telling. If United within those, like the opening 20 against Palace in midweek, for example, obviously fresh in the mind, so it's more obvious, but opening 20, we were like measured, controlled, patient build-up, play in possession. It wasn't just Varane, Lindelof, Amrabat, Varane, Lindelof, Varane, Lindelof, Dalot, Lindelof, sideways. No, there was some really good movement front to back. And then we got the goal with the first chance, really. Dalot into Garnacho 1-0 against Crystal Palace. If United don't get a goal in that 20 minutes, and you can audibly hear the change in Old Trafford. Because the opening 20 minutes, everyone's just, excited to see how the team moves forward, building opportunities, great. But even just after 20 minutes, everyone's like, it's a sense of frustration that builds from like the 20th minute onwards. I'm going to go down here and read a few more of your comments out on this, because I'm really interested to know what you feel maybe a solution might be. And you're saying it's because the young lads remember the basics. Well, we all know what the basics are. Hard graft. Just hard graft. From a defensive perspective, from an attacking perspective, hard graft. And I will speak about Casemiro next. Protosaurus Rex saying lots of things have gone against us, but mentality can help push you through. United don't have it. I want that kind of mentality that Liverpool had against Spurs. I couldn't even celebrate Matip walloping in like a 96th minute own goal at the weekend. I couldn't even celebrate City losing against Wolves. That's how much that game annoyed me. And I think Rashford's going to get the brunt of the criticism. And I'll speak about the changes that I think should be happening against Galatasaray, and lo and behold, there are some. But this man here is the one that is probably confusing me the most, right? Because of what he's achieved in his career and what he has done. Now, maybe that should. Casemiro is just properly leaving me speechless at this moment in time. Properly leaving me speechless. Because I said in a little short video I did last week about the evolution of Casemiro. I said with Amrabat in the team and Amrabat just occupying those spaces behind, it should mean that Casemiro can operate in more of a box-to-box, get closer towards the opposition's box. But I'm not sure if you saw it. Like Casemiro just... Paul, you're saying it's about isolation. It's not to do with isolation, man. Like he was just making schoolboy level basic passes. Wrong. Like a 15-yard, your teammates there pass. Wrong. Getting caught on the ball from behind. It's just that it's like everything goes through treacle with Casemiro. I don't get it. Like mentally, it's just like 3 yards slower than everybody else. I do not understand it. And people are, Fred is going to come back and haunt us. Well, first of all, he plays for Fenerbahce, so I don't think he's going to be doing that for Galatasaray. Second of all, let's not be crazy. If you're looking at a player of that level, then no, you're looking towards Hannibal, not looking towards a player that left. But Casemiro, man. I think it's on these two players, right? If you're looking at out of form, right? And it's this is something that I've been a big advocate of. A lot of you have been a big advocate of, and it's probably why a few of you have reached that point earlier than I have, right? Twanda, it's not Casemiro's problem. Sam, you're lost. I'm not saying that Casemiro is a problem. Right now, Casemiro is a problem. All right. Right now, Rashford, from a form perspective, Casemiro's form is a problem. Rashford's form is a problem. So Erik Ten Hag needs to find solutions. You know what else I thought was a big problem at the weekend as well is like the the difference between Martinez and Lindelof is it's kind of night and day in terms of their progressive aggressive playing out from the back. Lindelof has a pretty damn good passing range on him. When it comes to those long balls over the top, he can see a run from a forward and he can send a 30, 40-yard pass. He is more than capable of doing that. He's actually got a decent range. But when it comes to those, I miss them so much, man. Those passes from one of our centre-backs that go straight through vertically to the middle on like the centres on like to a midfielder in the middle rather than somebody down the wing. It's a pass where you can't particularly see it from where you're watching, but Martinez just kept doing them last season, and it was a big reason why we were without him we would have had no progression out from the back last season. But Lindelof and Varane is just it's sideways. It's really, really sideways, and it hurts. It really, really hurts. I'll tell you what, right? All the injuries we've got, for me, there is one issue that stands out, right? There's one issue that stands out, and it is this. I think the injury that's currently hurting us the most is Reguilon. And the injury that's hurting us before that is Luke Shaw. Man United's new defensive midfielder. Man United's midfielder that was brought into this club this summer to sort out our building out from the back, to sort out our first phase build-up, to sort out our possession game and our ability to control a game of football is playing left back. Because our left back, our reserve left back, and our emergency loan left back are all injured. We need Amrabat in midfield. All right? We need it. We need it. But how on earth? I mean, who else can play left back? Genuinely, right? Fire it in the comments. Who else can honestly play left back for Manchester United? And people are going to be going, oh, this is why Alvaro Fernandez should have been kept at the club. Like, come on, people. No. You can't stunt a year's career of Alvaro Fernandez simply because we've got 1, 2, 3 left backs injured. That's an unreasonable expectation for a player of his age. Go and shine elsewhere and enjoy your season, Fernandez. You couldn't expect it. I'm talking about internal answers. Dalot at left back and then Lindelof at right back. Now it's a possibility. It's not an outrageous possibility. I really think that Erik Ten Hag has got to consider this for the Galatasaray game. I don't know. I don't know what people are talking about about playing Johnny Evans now. Maybe. But we need this man in midfield so badly. He was so effective against Crystal Palace. And maybe Crystal Palace kind of shut that space out a little bit more. Right? Mutebe, you don't know what you're talking about. Alvaro should be played. No, Alvaro should be out on loan, enjoying a full season of football and not just sitting at Manchester United, waiting for us to have our senior left back injured, our reserve left back injured, an emergency loan left back injured, and then go, oh yeah, Fernandez, you can play now. Nah. All right. Jonathan saying if you have flexible formations, 3 at the back. 3 at the back is very, 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 very different style of play. And we do play 3 at the back. When Man United are in possession going forward, we literally drop into a 3 at the back. So Man United, you say that Man United, like Ten Hag doesn't have a flexible formation. Our formation is flexible in and out of possession. We're in different shapes. So we already have a flexible formation. We already play with 3 at the back. We're comment. Brandon Williams recall. External solutions are not going to help Manchester United right now. And is it like the big thing that everyone's, is it that a photo there? There it is there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Go on then. Sack Erik ten Hag. Yeah, bring in a new manager. That'll solve the problem. I don't know. For the life of me, I don't know how anybody has got the energy to do that. Genuinely, I do not have the energy to do it. What I think from an internal injury solution perspective, I think that Erik ten Hag and his coaching staff are going to have to consider maybe having less intense training sessions so that players can have a little bit more time to recover. Maybe we're slightly overtraining, which I've already spoken about that. The idea that training should be harder than the game itself. So by the time the game comes, you find it that much easier. But if your body is not 100% the whole way through training, you're going to be more likely to get injuries. And then the game comes along and we're not quite there. Maybe. And this is about Ten Hag's going to have to adapt. That's what I mean. Ten Hag now needs to improve. He's going to have to adapt here. He's going to have to tweak. He's going to have to find ways. And I thought we found a way against Burnley. We built on that against Palace. And for them players there, just to go from that against Palace to that there against Palace within the space of a few days, it's just properly inexcusable. That's what I would say. What are we saying down here? Need a long-term plan, done with changing managers. This is Erik ten Hag is our long-term plan. Go and show me the results that Mikel Arteta was having in his second season as Arsenal manager. And you will see that lots of Arsenal fans wanted him to be sacked. Ooh. You're telling me that it takes longer than 18 months sometimes. And then people are going to come in here and go, "Oh, Sam, but Postecoglou has come in, and look at Spurs now." Spurs versus United in terms of scrutiny, in terms of spotlight, in terms of pressure. There are only two clubs that can compete with the pressures that exist with Manchester United. Well, maybe more than two. Real Madrid and Barcelona. I would probably say the pressures are pretty similar at Liverpool. Bayern Munich, probably two. Don't compare it to Spurs. All right? And I think I've said this a few times. The thing that really annoys me about Spurs and Postecoglou is they stumbled drunkenly into Postecoglou after trying to sign Nagelsmann, after trying to sign like 3 or 4 other managers who all said no. They go, "Oh, God, I've run out of options here." Postecoglou? Yeah, go on then. Oh, he's actually perfect. Very, very lucky for Spurs, but I'm happy for them. I'm happy for Postecoglou, who seems like a genuinely decent bloke. Ten Hag is the right man. All I'm constantly hoping for is that we have a manager here in Erik ten Hag who can outlast the Glazers. Newsflash. This cycle will never, ever, 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 ever end at Manchester United. What's happening at our football club now with this football is cyclical, right? So is Manchester United under the Glazer ownership. We will get a new manager in. There will be a bounce. There will be a buzz. He will hit a ceiling. There will be issues. Then fans go, "Oh, sack that manager." Then there might be another little second bounce. And then all of a sudden the manager gets sacked. You go, "Right, let's get a new manager in." There will be a new manager. There will be a new manager bounce. There will be a buzz. There will be a plateau. There will be a dip. Repeat, 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 repeat. I'm fully done with it. Fully done with it. Erik ten Hag is from a coaching perspective, there's improvements. From a managerial perspective, there's improvements. Of course there are, right? But I absolutely trust that he is the correct man, that once we get new owners in and he genuinely has the support network behind him that deals with all this stuff, that he can then be the man to take us forward. But I don't know when that's going to happen. because we know what the Glazers are like. It's not about process. It's not about this. It's not about that. It's just that it's like United fans are playing a game of chicken. I don't know what analogy to use to describe it, right? I have no idea what analogy to use, but we just have to hope that Erik ten Hag can outlast the Glazers' greed. Okay? That's what we've got to hope, and we have to hope that that's going to come at the end of the season, that the Glazers are going to finally get the money that they want. I don't know. But let's talk about the game coming up, because as I said, right, the only major positive this week, well, it might not be a major positive come Tuesday at 10 p.m., but we've got Galatasaray tomorrow in the Champions League. We lost the opening game against Bayern Munich. Champions League is back at Old Trafford. It will be not nostalgic because it's back at Old Trafford, but it'll get the goosebumps going. The buzz will be there. Galatasaray will not be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but the best way to bury bad news is to win games of football, right? And there's one player that's returned to Manchester United this week. It's Anthony. I did my video on this last week. Truth be told, I'm really surprised. I'm surprised that he has come back to the club. But given what happened with Mason Greenwood, I have to imagine that either presumably the evidence that Anthony has provided to Manchester United must be compelling enough for Manchester United and Erik ten Hag to allow him back in the team before the police have conducted their own investigations. As I said, that's why I'm surprised that United have taken that stance. But, well, it depends if Anthony is fit or not. He might come back in. I would have preferred it just to be left at the side and for the police investigation to be ongoing and then come back into the fold after. Right? I'm surprised at that. But I suppose if there's one player that a lot of fans want to come into the game against Galatasaray, it's Garnacho. And I think I've got to agree with everyone now. I've definitely been more. And you know what's funny, right? What's funny? Maybe not funny is definitely the wrong word. What I was thinking about before the show is when Jadon Sancho released his statement about other players getting, or no, he feels like he's been a scapegoat and maybe the treatment hasn't been the same for other players. Everybody was looking towards Anthony. I mean, there's every chance that he was looking more towards Marcus Rashford because Sancho prefers to play on the left wing. Solskjaer said it. Everyone said it. Sancho prefers to play on the left wing. But Garnacho, I think he should be starting this game against Galatasaray. I think the form really has dictated. And I think I will always... Sometimes I can probably fall into the hypocrite category when certain players start and I give them support for that, despite them not being great in form. You can't just drop everybody constantly because their form is bad. So managers, it's all about form is class, form is temporary, class is permanent, and all that jazz. But Marcus Rashford really has just not been himself. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist, I think, in the Premier League this season. Garnacho was driving at his man, but not just driving at his man, he's got a step over or two. He can actually skip past. Rashford, when the confidence is flowing with Rashford, he can skip past anybody. But you know something that's and I've said this before and I'll say it again. Something that has been hurting Rashford is not having Luke Shaw, not having the overlapping fullbacks, because that always took a player away from Rashford, made it far easier for him to get through because teams are just doubling up on Rashford. And this is, by the way, that is what will happen against... The reason that you saw Garnacho come off the bench and make such a difference was because it was the last half an hour of the game. Garnacho, overall at Manchester United, has been a significantly more impactful substitute than he has been a starting player. But I do think if I'm going to start one player and bring one player on for the last 30 against Galatasaray, I would rather start Garnacho and bring Rashford on for the last 30 rather than the other way around. in this occasion. And then, of course, I think there's going to be a lot of people calling for Hannibal to come into the starting 11. I'm going to run through my start. That's going to be my lunchtime show today. Lunchtime video. Hannibal played against Burnley, ran more in a single game than any United player since 2019. Had more sprint pressures, had more pressures on and off the ball. He basically did exactly what his manager asked him to do. And for him to put that level of performance in, and then for Casemiro to have like such a stinker, it's a shame that their profiles are different. If Amrabat was completely fit, if our left backs were fit and Amrabat was in midfield, I don't think Ten Hag would even bat an eyelid at dropping Casemiro and playing Hannibal there instead. But if you're playing Hannibal there instead, who do you play to sort of protect the defense? Because Hannibal won't do that. That's not his role. Bruno definitely won't do that. So if you're doing those two, then you basically got to play Casemiro because you're not playing McTominay there. Could play Eriksen. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to run through my starting 11 a little bit later. But yeah, it's if you want to shout Ten Hag out, you can do. Just go and do it somewhere else, right? Because you are not going to get any support from me on this channel in the slightest. Do I think that Ten Hag has to improve? Yeah, you're damn right he does. Right? It's Man United. You can't lose. In September, we lost 4 out of 6 games. Arsenal, Brighton, Bayern, and Palace. And we had a win away at Burnley, 1-0. And then we've beaten Crystal Palace 3-0 at Old Trafford in the League Cup. And when was the last time we scored 3 goals? Well, let's ignore Bayern Munich, actually, because that was a really stupid example because it was 3 like 2 games before. But we need more goals, man. I'm going to go down here and read a few of your comments out. No need to keep making excuses for Rashford. I'm just saying that he definitely suffers from the fact that we are getting doubled up on the wings because we don't have an overlapping fullback at the moment because we have no left back. Amrabat drops inside. We haven't had that sort of double up down the left-hand side in the same way we had last season. You might say it's an excuse. I'm just presenting to you a tactical truth of how Man United's shape is different going forward this season and how and probably why it's so much more compact over there on the left-hand side. Sorry. Delo can play left back. Lindelof can play right back. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do for this team against Galatasaray. I know that changes are needed. I'm going to think about it a little bit more and I'll get my starting 11 out. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope this is the last time this season that I have to come here on a Monday morning and start and end the show looking like a Poundland Clark Kent. But look, the red therapy room was opened. It better not be open on Wednesday. I swear to God. Better not be open on Wednesday. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Much love. I'll speak to you soon.